Good afternoon everyone and welcome along to round 8 of the Inside Line Racing League Championship. It's ILR1 on the PS4. I'm Ginger Andy and joining me in the commentary box tonight I have Gaming Ali Monda, also known as Mark. So Mark, it's going to be a cracking race. Look at the weather, damp conditions in this fantastic championship fight. Really is throwing a real ingredient into the mix of this session, isn't it?
Well, rain is not always welcome for the drivers, but certainly for those watching, it always proves to be a very interesting view. So, yeah, it's a full wet race and full wet quali. Wow. I don't think that's something we've seen so far this season. Yeah, it's really going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons.
I was watching the action actually in the Friday night of the Xbox tier, where I felt at times, I mean, it was a great race, there was lots of overtaking, but at times the DRS was a little bit too powerful down those straights, and the moves were quite easily made. But with the wet conditions, it's not as easy to make a move down those long straights. You don't have that DRS to your advantage, so it will make the overtaking slightly more challenging. It will make the racing a lot more challenging, because it's not often you get a wet race at all on these games, and even especially at a track like France, down in the south of France, near Nice, near Monaco, places like that. And well, a bit of rain is really going to spice this qualifying up. And as we know, Mark, for the most part, these drivers, when they do the practice, it's usually in dry conditions, isn't it?
Yes, to be honest, it's the first time I've ever seen rain at this track. In terms of heavy rain, I've seen some inters and sort of changeable conditions, but I've never seen a full wet session like this on this game. So I think the key thing for all the drivers will be setting up the car that will allow them to have the maximum traction out of the corners, which will, you know, if they get good traction out of the corners, especially onto the straights, it will make up for the lack of DRS to allow them to pass the car in front.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing about that, as a remember part for me as on, folks, if you're watching, the good thing that they do have to their advantage is they can set their car up for those full wet conditions, because as we've mentioned, we're expecting a full wet race as well as a full wet qualifying, so they don't have to compensate one way or the other. They can go full on for the wet setup on a track like this, and that of course usually means a little bit more wing on the car, a little bit raised ride height as well, to try and help the car move through the water. And I'm watching Matt Tibos at the moment heading on his lap out there on the circuit, heading down towards the end of that first long straight with a Mistral chicane, and it just breaks up that long back straight, which otherwise would probably be one of the longest in Formula 1. So here comes Matt Tibos down towards the high-speed right-hander that I call the reverse of 130R at Suzuka. It really is a real challenge for the drivers in the damp conditions. Can they take it flat? I don't think they can in these damp conditions. And now down into that tricky turn 11, that long right-hander. And look at Matt really struggling to get the car near the apex, running out wide on both occasions, on the way in and on the way out of the corner, as Nowak puts the fastest time on the board so far, a 1:44.5, some way slower than what they would be in the dry conditions. I mean, me and Mark, we don't really know what to expect in terms of a quick lap time, because as you mentioned earlier, we very rarely see any wet running around here.
Yes, that is absolutely right. And one of the characteristics I know of this track in wet conditions here is that those white lines and the painted lines outside of the track itself are absolutely lethal if you take speed into them. So particularly that fast right-hander you mentioned being the reverser 130R, if they take a bit too much speed off track, they could be going bye-bye into the barriers.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point, well made. It's a very unusual circuit layout, and the size of those runoff areas, as Cliffy has gone quickest on a set of the intermediate compound, so that will raise a few eyebrows, won't it? 3/10 quicker than Nowak on the inter. So Cliffy, he's a man we should talk about, in fine form in recent races. 2 wins on the bounce for Cliffy. Usually a man that likes to try that alternate strategy. I don't think he'll be trying anything alternate today other than what he's done here in qualifying. Look at that. He immediately puts an intermediate tyre on, does something different from everyone else, and it's worked in his favour, as it has done quite often in recent weeks. 2 wins, that incredible victory in Monaco, where he came from, what was it, 16th on the grid, I think it was, at Monaco of all places to win. And here showing again in France on the intermediate tyre, a little bit of pace, but as you can see, those times starting to tumble, and Cliffy's 1:44.2 has been dismissed as Lewis goes third on a 1:43.8, but fastest of all is VSR Josh on a 1:43.3. And I think what the drivers will be trying to do here is filling the car up and just run long and try and gain some confidence, try and gain lap time by finding out the limits of the racetrack. Mark, isn't that right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, VSR Josh, it's a good good time from him so far. We don't know if the conditions are going to sort of get easier, so these times will come down, but Josh is actually looking for his first points in the championship, but he'd be delighted if qualifying ended like that.
Yep, absolutely. Jim coming across the line now. He's starting a flying lap. He's a man who's right up there in the championship as well. Been in the podium almost every race this season. 2 occasions he's not been on the podium, so 5 out of 7 for him so far this season. It's his consistency that's allowed him to be up near the front of this World Championship. He's starting his first flying lap now for Sauber, currently without a time on the board. And let's see him as he makes his way, splashing through the puddles through turn 4 and turn 5. That extremely slow right hand at the back end sliding there for Jim, and now through that long turn 6. It's just so difficult to get the power down. You're desperately hoping you can put the power down, and it is like that in the dry, but in the wet even more so, as Jim heads down that long back straight towards the braking zone for that chicane, which is actually a little bit higher speed than you would first think when you come to this circuit. When F1 came for the first time here this season, I was expecting it to be a little bit more of a slow speed chicane, but on the entry it's quite a high speed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a mini Ascari to a degree, the way you sort of enter it and then exit it to go onto the power for the following straight before you head to the fast right-hander. So yeah, when I first rounded it, I was surprised how much speed you could take through it. It's very easy to cut the first part of it and get a warning, so they'll have to watch out for that.
Yep, absolutely, they will need to keep an eye out on corner cut penalties. It is a track like Canada in that last Grand Prix where you can get a penalty quite easily with those high-speed apexes into the corners. That is usually what causes issues. Another one in Australia that you often see penalties as Zoom rounds that long penultimate corner and into the final corner, which is extremely tight on the way in. You don't notice it so much as you approach the corner, but when you get there you really realise how tight it is. Some drivers actually elect to go down into first gear for that corner, and Zoom actually invalidated that lap and remains 20th with no time on the board. So a little bit of pressure on Zoom here with 8.5 minutes to go in the session. Let's see who else we can pick up out on the racetrack at the moment. We've got Nowak in P3 out there. Is he on a quick one as things stand? No, he's not. He's in mode 0. So let's see if we can pick someone else up. We've got CC Brain at the moment, P6. Let's see if he is on a reasonably quick lap at the moment, heading down that long back straight. I don't think so. I think he's in mode 0 as well, and going down that back straight, I don't think in any serious hurry on this given lap. And no, he's not. He's cutting across the chicane, abandoning their latest run. So let's have a look at Bugatti then in that Red Bull racing car. A man who's failed to score any points at all so far this season. A number of finishes outside the point and a couple of DNFs. A man who has been struggling a lot this season. He'll be looking to put things right here, won't he?
Yeah, he just gets involved in too many battles in the midfield where, you know, he could just be a little bit less aggressive and he could get, you know, pick up a point or two. But, you know, he's had too many incidents this season. Kind of reminiscent of Max Verstappen at the beginning of his career. Just needs to find a little bit more on-track maturity, because he does have decent speed at this level. Just, you know, he just can't get involved in so many incidents, otherwise they're going to be nowhere.
Yep, absolutely. Bugatti then round the final corner up to the line. Can he show what he's capable of? So show some maturity and talent as he crosses the line. A 143.9, and he stays P7 for the moment. He's done 2 laps on the wet tyre. It's Me, he's now gone up to 4th quickest. He's done 3 laps on the wet tyre. So let's see if we can pick up It's Me at the moment. He's not on a quick lap here. I think he's coming into the pits on this occasion. So who else we got out there? With VSR Josh at the moment still on top. Leon coming round the final corner up towards the line. What is this latest effort from the Toro Rosso driver going to be? He moves up from P9 into P5, a 1 minute 43.6. And it has to be said, it's looking pretty tight at the top of the leaderboard. The top 5 separated by 2.5 tenths. Really close, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very close indeed. Interestingly, Cliffy's come back out. He's now gone for the wets this time, so he's given up on the inters. However, VSL Francis, TGG Po and Liquid Blocks are all out on the inter tyres right now, so they're trying to gamble and see if it's a little less wet than it was earlier.
Well, let's pick someone out. Let's pick someone up out there on track. Who's furthest round, about to start a lap? Is Liquid Blocks quite far round? Yeah, I suppose he is. Let's keep an eye on Liquid then on those intermediate tyres. About to start a quick lap. 6 minutes to go in this qualifying session. It's VSR Josh on top by 1.5 tenths to VSR Blizzard in second. Nowak third. It's Me fourth. Leon is P5. Lewis, the world champion from a year ago, is P6. And it looks like Lewis has slowly started to maybe pick up a little bit of form. Second place in Canada. Are we going to see that continue? And can he finally start bringing himself into this championship? Because he's 8th in the standings, and really, given how poor his season's been, he's not as far away as he probably would have thought from the top of the standings. Just 68 points at this stage, given how poor his season's been.
Indeed. Well, the advantage of a long season like this, when you've got 21 races, if you have a poor start, you've still got plenty to go. And he had a really good showing at Canada last week, finishing ahead of June and not too far off Cliffy out front. So yeah, it's probably finally his season starts here, and now he's going to see if he can repeat that here at France, or maybe even go one better.
Yeah, well, let's see what Little Blocks can do on those intermediate tyres. Have a second down. Oh, huge slide for Little there going through turn 7. Is that a sign that he's abandoned this current run on the inters? Let's see if there's anyone else out there. Maybe Francis on the inters. Or who else is out there? TGGP Poe is coming across the line. Is this the start one or finish one? He's 2.5 seconds off the pace at the moment, so I don't think the inters are the tyre to be on. We'll keep an eye on Francis for this first sector. We'll keep an eye on him to see what it is. If it's slower than what his current best is, we'll go and pick someone else up out on the racetrack. It's Lewis now, the world champion. When we're just speaking about him, finally showing his potential. He puts it onto pole position by almost 4/10. So is it a sign that Lewis is back in the championship hunt? Francis then out there on the inters, we'll come back to him later. But Lewis finally, at long last, delivering the pace he's capable of. Blizzard is out there near the end of a lap at the moment, the championship leader. Yeah. What can he do? Can he answer Lewis's pace?
He's got a much quicker, he's 4/10 up in Sector 2 on Lewis, so if he can hold it together in Sector 3, he could be taking that provisional pole, Andy.
Well, here comes the McLaren driver round that really tight final corner. The back end sliding as the spray kicks up from behind, and he's coming into the pits. With 3 minutes and 50 to go, he must have invalidated the lap at some point there. It's Me's on an outlap on the inters. Let's see if we can go back to Francis. Where is he? Looks like he's struggling out there. Not putting anything serious together. The back end all over the place. Is he going to complete this lap or is he not? Let's see. Looks pretty slow to me. I think he's going to go for another lap. I think he's going to stay out there on those tyres. I don't think there's any reason for him to come into the pits, and he is going to stay out. What is the lap time going to be? A 1 minute 45 flat, so it's not that far away from intermediates, but it's not really working for him at the moment, is it? As Nowick's about to start a flying lap.
No, I mean the Inters just don't seem to be removing enough water at the moment to make them that much quicker than the wets to make difference to the time. But there's a few minutes to go. I have to say the rain seems to have eased off just a little bit, so maybe right at the depth the Inters might come to the fore.
Yeah, they might. We'll wait and see. The drivers on Inters at the moment. It's me, Francis, on track on Inters. Matt Tibos on track on Inters. In the pits with the tyres on but not out there. TGP Poe and VSR Josh, who has in fact just come out on an outlap on those tyres. Lewis is some 7/10 quicker now. 42.6 now for Lewis, and he is finally delivering the pace we know he has. And is this the start of a charge back towards the top of the championship? The title race was opened up last week with the DNF for Blizzard, and it means that the top 4 at the moment are covered by 22 points, the top 5 by 26, so nearly a race win covering 5 cars, and that really just shows that this is probably one of the most tightest, most unpredictable championship races I can remember. I know it's only early, but the early signs are good, especially with people like Lewis, who are 68 points behind, starting to show what they're capable of. It's brilliant for the league, isn't it?
Yes, and it's so early days, but this has potential to be a classic season. Lewis is pretty much out of fuel, so I don't think he's going to be able to get back to the pits and do another run. So the benchmark at the moment are 1:42.655. There are some out there who are gambling on the Inters, Blizzard and Josh being 2 of them, and they are 2nd and 3rd. So if it pays off, they could steal the pole position. But if they get it wrong, they're not going to improve. Yeah, well, Novak looks like he's going pretty slowly, about to start another one. So let's see if we can pick someone up who's further around the lap. But Josh is on one. It's not a quick one on those Inters, though. Who else is out there on a quick one? Novak, not a quick one. It's me on the Inters, coming towards the end of a current lap. He's got Lickle just in front of him on the wets at the moment, but we'll keep an eye on what It's Me can do on these Inters. As you say, that rain has eased slightly. Is it enough, though, to show any serious pace on those tyres? Has Gonanen just slipped up into the top 6 there? I think he has. So Gonanen has gone 6th
on the wet tyre. Let's keep an eye on It's Me. I don't think it's quick. It's not quick. It isn't. So let's forget that. Let's go to Lickle, who's just coming across the line now. And he's coming in, is he? No, he's coming across the line. And it's a slow one from him as well. So who can we pick up on the track at the moment who's on a quick one? Nowick's a 10th down in his current best. Blizzard is coming towards the end of a lap, also on inters, about to begin a flyer. So who else can you see out there? Have you seen anyone out there on a quick lap at all, Mark?
Yeah, I'm just comparing this. So Josh did a 28.511 on the inters. I'm just comparing that to Lewis. And yeah, looks like he's 3/10 down on sector 1. So he's got to hope that it's going to get a bit easier, but it just doesn't look like it's getting any better. It still looks like a ton of spray out there looking at the back of the car. Yeah, so unless he has an extraordinary sector 2 and sector 3, I just don't see the inters being quicker right now.
Yeah, I think we should discard the guys on inters. I think they've made a mistake because CC Brain's just gone third quickest on the wet tyre, so it's all about the wet runners. Nowick's has tied up on his current best, so we'll keep an eye on him. We'll keep an eye on Gunn and N. Leon as well. Let's go to Leon first, then we'll go to Nowick. The Toro Rosso's on a late charge here. Leon stays P8. Let's go to Nowick now in the penultimate turn. 1 corner to go. He is slightly up on his current best. Is it going to be enough to move him up from P5? It could be enough to go ahead of the championship leader Nowick. Blizzard. Let's see what he does. He goes on to the front row and is only 2/10 away from Lewis. So Nowick delivers a reasonable lap time. CC Brain can go again. Who else can go again? We've got It's Me spinning off in the background there on the intermediate tyres. So off he goes. Goranen's backed out of his current run. Bugatti's spun as well. Zoom's on one, but he's way off the road in the wet tyre, and he's going to go spinning off and join It's Me in the runoff area. So forget that lap. At the moment, CC Brain is the one we're going to go to, but here comes Lickleblocks round the final corner towards the line. He's currently P12. Where does he go? Up to P4. So it's P4 for Lickleblocks. Cliffy's currently 15th. Can we pick up Cliffy on a quick lap? Oh, he's got Lambo just in front of him as well. I don't know where to look at the moment. CC Brain must be near the end of his lap as well. Here comes Cliffy then, the winner of the last 2 races. Lambo abandons his lap. So here comes Cliffy round the final couple of corners. Let's see where he can go. Up to the line comes Cliffy. He's currently P15. He goes up to 11. The Brain for the line. He stays P6. And that should be that, I think. Is there anyone else making major improvements? I don't think so. Let's go to Bugatti. I think I saw him spin, so no, I'm not going to bother go to him. And that seems to be that. It's Lewis W03 on pole position by nearly 3/10 of a second in these damp conditions here in France. And it's Nowick alongside him in second. The championship leader, VSR Blizzard is third. It's VSR Josh in P4, Lickleblocks P5, and the Brain in P6. A cracking session that one, Mark. Didn't know which tyre was the best one, but it turned out that it was correct to be on the wet compound tyre at the end of the session, wasn't it?
Yes, but to be fair to Blizzard, he did actually improve on the inters, so it was as if the inters were just about to come to them, but just a bit too late to take the pole position. But it was a really good lap from Blizzard to make those work, whereas all the other guys who tried the inters couldn't improve.
Yeah, wow, incredible. There it is then, the qualifying results from the French Grand Prix. Lewis is back. He's definitely back. A second last time out. A pole position to follow it up here in France. Is this the moment where he finally starts to take this championship by the scruff of the neck? It's Nowick alongside Blizzard and Josh on the second row for VSR. Lickleblocks 5th. CC Brain is 6th. It's Me 7th, Goran 8th, Leon is 9th, and Francis, the Scotsman, rounds out the top 10 with Cliffy outside the top 10 in P11. And, well, having won the last 2 races, he might be a tad disappointed to start P11, but we know that Cliffy just loves coming alive in the race, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's really put on a show so far, but it's a long way to go. This is going to be a grueling race. I think the most disappointed man in terms of the guys at the top of the standings will be Lambo. He had a pretty shocking qualifying session there. He'll be hoping for better in the race.
Yep, Lambo will be hoping for better, and Lambo, a man with extreme consistency. That last race in Canada was the first race this season where he failed to finish in the points. Lambo, not a man renowned for his raw speed, but just that consistency is what's kept him only 26 points off the lead of the championship. A second in Melbourne, a third in Bahrain, a fourth in China, a little bit off colour in Baku and Spain with an 8th and 6th, then a third in Monaco before that non-score in Canada. So a man well outside the points. He's got his work cut out in the damp conditions. It won't be easy to overtake with that DRS, but it's time for the formation lap, and it looks like it's quite light, the rain out there. So does that mean perhaps a set of intermediate tyres for the driver? I think that's what they're all
yes, it
on.
is. Yeah, everyone's on the green wall tyres. Now, tyre temps can be a lot trickier in the wet to keep maintained. So, whereas usually you want to put a lot of temperature into the tyres on the formation lap and get to the start as quickly as you can, I think here Lewis will want to, brake a lot and back up the pack. He doesn't want to be sitting on the grid for too long.
Absolutely. So there it is then. Lewis, Nowak, Blizzard, Josh, your top four. Liquor Blocks P5, CC Brain P6. It's me P7, Goran NP8, Leon 9th and Francis 10th, as we mentioned. Then the guys outside the top 10, everyone of course getting the option to start on fresh tyres given the change of, well, the wet conditions that we have here. You can always, when it's wet, pick any tyre you want. No having to start the tyre you qualified on. So it's Cliffy P11, Bugatti P12, TG Pole 13th, June 14th. Kelly Brady, who I believe is KB Killerzone, as we've known him to this point in the season, he's 15th, so not a good session for him either, given his position in the championship. Matt Tibos 16th, Lambo 17th, Calic Rist 18th, Frisky CJ 19th, and Plexits down in 20th. So yeah, another one there. Not just Lambo, but KB Killerzone, or Kelly Brady as he's known, not having a good session either.
No, not at all. He'll be certainly looking to get some places. I just hope the drivers give each other a little bit extra space, because, just like it is driving a car in real life, you want to give a bit of extra room when you're braking.
Yeah, absolutely. So 27 laps ahead of the drivers in damp conditions. Just to confirm, Mark, did you hear that this was going to be a full wet race from start to finish? Is that what we're hearing?
Well, that's what they were saying, but the game. Sometimes it changes its mind. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing some wet to dry action. It usually makes for a very interesting race when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely right. I couldn't agree more with that. We don't as often see wet races as we did in previous games. So yeah, I think it's absolutely right that we see a wet race now and then. So yeah, it could be an absolute cracker. I'm looking forward to it. And, they said it might be a wet race, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be run fully on intermediate tyres. There's every chance we could go to the full wet tyre as well. So it promises to be a cracking race. I mean, you've got a championship as close as this. It's going to be a cracker. Let's just quickly run that down as the guys are on the grid. It's VSR Blizzard with 98 points, then June with 92 points, Cliffy with 82 points, KB Killerzone with 76 points, and TTG Lambo with 72 points. 5 cars separated by 26 points in the championship after 7 rounds. It promises to be a thrilling season. They're all lined up on the grid. Lewis, the champion from last year, has taken a long time to get into his stride. A second last time in Canada, and now a pole position here. Is this the moment where his season comes alive? We'll find out as we wait for the lights. Look at this is a long wait, Charlie. Get the lights on. Here we go. 5 red lights here in France, and we'll be racing in Paul Ricard in the rain now. Lewis from pole leads them on the run down to turn 1. Nowak second. A good start there from Blizzard as they stream down towards that first corner. Blizzard has a little look on the inside of the Toro Rosso. Is there space for the championship leader? Not quite enough space to take the lead as they tentatively make their way down the hill in these damp conditions. It's Lewis leading from Nowak second, and Blizzard going side by side with Nowak at the start, down into turns 3, 4 and 5, and has the championship leader got the jump? Yes, he has. Blizzard on the inside through 5, and look at Lickle there in the background as well, trying to make some inroads, and look at that, nearly 3 wide there, going through turn 6, so close there between Lickle and CC Brain as they stream up through turn 7 and down the long back straight. What a cracking start to this Grand Prix that was, Mark.
Oh, thrilling stuff. Pletix and Matt Tebos at the back had a collision, but now CZ Brain is about to get swamped.
Oh, look at that on the brakes. He is getting swamped and they're banging wheels down there, and round goes the Brain into his spin. Will they hit him? Yes, they will. That was, I think it was Francis or Cliffy there making contact with the CC Brain as he went spinning in contact there with the Ferrari of Lickle Block. So the Brain with serious front wing damage dropping down through the field. Which car was it though that made contact? I think it was a Mercedes. It must have been CJ or Cliffy, I think. It was Cliffy, was it not? He's got wing damage. Yes, it was. So the winner of the last 2 races, Cliffy, in the wars early on, Mark.
Yeah, there's going to be a few drivers coming in for wing changes. But yeah, Cliffy, wrong place at the wrong time. But yeah, Lickle Blocks and CC Brain going to that chicane, but more of a racing incident to me.
Oh yeah, racing incident, a bit of a shame. Bugatti dropping down to the field as well there. Has he gone spinning somewhere on the racetrack? I'm not sure. Across the line they go then to begin the second lap of 27. If the rest of the laps are like this first one, oh boy, we're in for a cracking race. It's Lewis from Blizzard, from Nowak, then Leon in P4 with Lickelblocks right behind him in P5. Now if I'm not mistaken, I believe Leon's had a fantastic start, and he has. He's up 5 places from his starting position. Killian Brady's up 6 places as well, and now it's only 4 places for Leon because Lickel's banging wheels side by side through turns 4 and 5, and I think holding on just about as Leon, but to come from 9th up to P4, that is a storming getaway from that Toro Rosso. So Toro Rosso's 3rd and 4th at the moment, and Josh has had a poor start. He's gone from 4th down to P6 and looking to come back into this battle. 4th, 5th and 6th all on a line as they stream down that long straight. Side by side goes Lickelblocks. Is he making the move? Yes, he is on the inside of Leon. Leon hanging on round the outside. There's plenty of grip out there, and he holds on to P4. Lickel has tried once. He'll have to try again as they go down this long straight towards Scene. That wrong right-hander, which leads into an even longer right-hander of turn 11. Here they go. Lickel on the outside. No way through there on Leon. And look at VSR Josh in the background, just shadowing them, waiting for anything to occur. But Lewis out front, opening up to 2 seconds on Blizzard, and really starting to find that form we know he's capable of.
Oh, Lickel getting a massive snap of oversteer, nearly going off the track. But yeah, he's losing a lot of time for Leon. They're already 3 seconds behind the top 3. Cliffy, Pledix and CC Brain coming in for wing changes. I'm surprised. I think Matt Tebos had damage as well. Not sure why he didn't come in, but he'll probably be coming in the following lap.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wait and see if Matt Tebos does decide to come in. Brayton, the big loser on that opening lap, down 14 places with that pit stop. So Flex, him and Cliffy were all in, and Gordon Ends also made the call for the pits too. As the rain continues to drizzle down here at Paul Ricard on lap 3 here at 27. It's Lewis leading from Blizzard in 2nd, Nowak 3rd, and then this fantastic battle for 4th, 5th and 6th between Leon, Lickelblocks and Josh. And Josh went down 2 places from the start, was a late comer to this tier, and having DNF'd in Monaco in Canada, now showing he has got some serious pace underneath him. In fact, I think I raced with him in ILR Prix at the start of the season. I'm pretty sure he was winning races there, so that gives you an idea of just how quick the rise of VSR Josh has been as he continues to line up Lickelblocks then as they go down that long back straight. Is there any way he can make a move stick? Doesn't look like it. I'm going to go a little bit further down here because I believe there's a little battle that Jum's getting involved in. Let's see if we can pick that up. Look at this for a scrap. The 2 Saubers in there. They've got TGG Poe just on the fringes of the top 10, so the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th, and then the 2 Saubers in the background of Kalik and Jum. Jum having a little look up the inside of his teammate. Is he making it stick? Not quite, as he goes through that long right-hander of turn 10 and down towards turn 11. No sign of a move, but up in front of that we do have a move, and that's It's Me on the inside of Francis at turn 11 in the damp conditions. That's a fantastic move. Very rare you see a move there, and Francis is coming back now through turn 12, and they're going to be rubbing wheels. Oh, off the road goes It's Me as the right rear and the left rear and the right front touch there and locked wheels. I thought it was going to send It's Me spinning. They still battle side by side into the final corner. Goodness me, this is close. Let's get a good shot of that with TGV Poe, and Poe eases past the pair of them. They're too busy watching each other, and we're 3 wide down the start-finish straight. Incredible racing. The Williams, the Force India and the Renault of Poe goes from 10th up into P8 in a flash as It's Me and Francis were too busy battling one another, weren't they, Mark?
Oh, that was brilliant. But yeah, Poe just said thank you very much. The other 2 ahead went deep into the final corner, which is very easy to do in the dry, let alone the wet conditions. But it's all gone terribly wrong for Doom. He's picked up damage, and well, he was only 6 points behind at the top of the standings, but the way it's going, he's going to be losing a lot of ground to the leaders.
He sure is, and meanwhile, look at this. His Sauber teammate Kalik Rest battling hard with Bugatti as well. 2 Saubers involved in plenty of action so far, but as you say, Jum going to be losing a lot of points with Blizzard, his rival, his nearest rival, who's leading the championship, Blizzard, up in 2nd place. He's going to lose 18 points to the gap that's already 6 points in the standings. He's going to be a full 24 behind at this rate. So look at that battle there going on. Bugatti and Kalik really getting close, and now that's going to cost Bugatti time on the exit. He was out of shape there, and now he's being attacked by Lambo, a man who's been so consistent this season. He'll be looking to recover from a poor qualifying, but on this occasion unable to make any move into turn 10. And Bugatti now trying the move we've seen on the previous lap on Calic. Calic sliding wide, struggling for any kind of grip in these damp conditions, and Bugatti nearly gets there. But the back end is all over the place. A real tank slapper there for Bugatti. Goodness me, Bugatti, this is the wrong Codemasters game you're playing, mate. Dirt. This is not dirt, this is F1. Incredible how much he's sliding the rear of that car.
Yeah, that's not going to do his rear tyres any good whatsoever. And Lambo's just wisely staying out of this for the time being. He's gained 4 places from the start, Lambo, so, you know, he's looking to really recover. And Francis pits. I wonder if that's wing damage, I'll let you know.
Yep, Francis into the pits then. For anyone wondering, there's the tire graphic. Absolutely everyone except Cliffy. And now Francis as well has gone for the wet compound tyre, I see. So, is the rain worsening? It certainly, you can argue it is actually, looking at the onboard there from Lambo. What do you think, Mark?
It doesn't look too bad, to be honest, but I guess Francis feels he has nothing to lose. He had to replace his wing just now, and Cliffy's on the wets as well, but I'll keep an eye on the sector time, see if it is making any difference, although Cliffy's not really gaining on Pletics. In fact, he lost, well, he's just lost half a second. Just watching the more of him, it doesn't look great.
Here's a move there from Kay Brady, making a move up the inside on Josh, so Josh slipping backwards further now. That's 3 places he's lost from the start, and Cliffy retires. So Cliffy, the winner of the last 2 races, who's made himself a threat in this championship, well, not any longer. He slips out of this Grand Prix after 2 race victories, and that is a real shame for Cliffy. That contact at the start when he hit the spinning, who was it, the brain that was spinning, and Cliffy helplessly ran into him as his car was sitting in the middle of the road, and it's cost him big time. So Brady has made that move on Josh meanwhile, and Littleblock's up in front of that. Fighting with Leon still, who of course made that fantastic getaway from the start. Remember folks, at the end of this race we always love to hear what you guys have got to say, so feel free to submit your driver of the day, people, whoever you feel you want to win driver of the day. Just so you know, we won't be accepting Sorokin as your driver of the day. That's been going about all week, and unfortunately that one failed today in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and it was given to Alonso instead. But yep, feel free to let us know who your driver of the day come the end of this 27 lap race in these damp conditions here at Paul Ricard in France. Round 8 of the championship. But having a look now, Littleblock's looking pretty close to the back of Leon, isn't he?
Yep, no, he's been trying. Leon's been doing a really good defensive job so far. Little's definitely running a little bit less wing. He's closing in, but then on the high-speed corners, he's really struggling to keep that momentum going. So he needs to sort of get past Leon on the straights if he can, and then try and get the car slowed down. Looking at Francis, it's definitely not right for the wet tyres. He's losing a few tenths per sector.
Oh, and there's Lickle on the inside now as he finally got that move done, and Leon just chops across the front of him, and that was really, really close there to contact. If Lickle had locked a wheel up there, the two of them were going to go speeding off into the runoff area. Thankfully, it wasn't to be, as Lickle gains and gains and gains on Leon. Are we going to see a move into turn 11? We've seen a few attempts at a move down here. 1 or 2 of them have paid off as Lickle runs it into turn 11. Is he going to have space on the inside? Running wide is the car in front of Leon, but he should have the traction on the exit to hold on, and he does. So it remains as you were in the battle for 4th and 5th. Lewis, though, not extending that gap out in Blizzard any further than he did at the start. Still holding at around 2.3. So maybe Blizzard just trying to settle himself down and worry about things later on, and maybe try and come back at Lewis, and maybe when the rain worsens, or when they need to get rid of these intermediate tyres. I mean, I would presume that they would need to make one stop. I mean, in the wet conditions you don't actually have to make a pit stop, but you would think that they would probably make one stop for a fresh set of inters in this Grand Prix, wouldn't you?
Yes, the tyre wear is significant of this track, so if it's into the entire race, they're going to have to stretch these out so they can do a one-stop, so they won't be pitting for a while yet if that's the case. Bugatti and Calic still having their raging battle for the final point, and they're going side by side for the opening corners.
Oh, let's see if I can pick that up then. Thanks for spotting that. Wow, that is a close fight. Bugatti and Calic side by side, and let's go on board with Lambo behind, who's got a front row seat sitting there with the popcorn watching this battle. Bugatti just about getting his nose ahead there of Calic, and now a chance for Lambo to go through, and he just about slides his way ahead of Calic, who's struggling a lot now, and even June is being held up, and he's got front wing damage. So side by side we'll go the two Saubers down that long back straight, and off the road there goes June behind Calic. But yeah, great racing there between those guys. And is there going to be a move here from June on his teammate Calic? In front of that there's a move as well. Side by side goes Bugatti and Lambo, but Bugatti holds on to that place as Kalik runs it really deep there into that chicane and runs really wide on the exit. So that could be a move. Sorry, what are you saying?
Bugatti all out of shape. Here comes Lambo.
Yeah, Lambo just in front of that. Let's keep an eye on that. Bugatti still holding on to that position. Lambo in behind. No, unable to do anything about it. What about Jum? Is he having a look up the inside behind that? Oh, hold on. Running wide there was Bugatti, wasn't he? Really wide. So we'll stick to this at the moment. And Jum actually, at the same time, makes the move on Kalik. You just don't know where to look with these two battles. And Jum passes Kalik. But
Lewis pits.
And Lewis, the leader, pits for a set of wet compound tyres, it seems. So wet tyres.
That is interesting.
For Lewis.
And loads of people pitting.
Sorry?
He's being held. Or is that a glitch? But Lewis is stuck in the pits.
Oh, surely not. Not another bad day for him. Let's see if we can pick him up. Lewis, there you go. Yeah, he is being held. Oh, that's a nightmare for the Red Bull driver. And a man. I don't believe this. A man who's been having such a wretched season and finally looking like it was going to come together for him. And he's been held in the pits. A glitch with the game. And Lewis is surely out and he will be furious with that one. That's a real shame for him, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, I'll have to find out. I'll find out in the chat if that, because sometimes when that happens, it's not actually as it seems. No, he's left, so that's definitely. So it's a Monaco 2016 situation. They didn't have the tyres ready for him, or any apparently. So Lewis is out of the race, and that's ridiculous. It really is a ridiculous thing to happen in a race like this, and it's through no fault of his own whatsoever. It's a real shame.
Yep, and there goes Lambo back ahead of Bugatti. Oh, off goes Lambo into the wall. There was contact there, and the wing is damaged. So I'm surprised he's not lost one of his tyres or wheels there in that one. That was a hefty hit with the wall as Bugatti and Lambo came to blows. And there's another championship contender in the war. He joins Cliffy and running into trouble in this race. A bit like you could argue Zoom as well, but Zoom's recovered well to get into the points. And that's going to be a careful run back to the pits for TTG Lambo. And, well, that front wing is totally destroyed. That's a certainty he's going to need a pit stop. But Leon also came into the pits for a set of wet tyres. Let's try and pick him up just behind Lambo. Let's keep an eye on his sector times. And I'm briefly, folks watching, going to change this to the gap to the leader rather than interval to see if Leon is gaining on the leader at the moment. Bugatti and Zoom have also came into the pitch. So let's keep an eye on Leon here. He's 33.8 off the lead. If that gap continues to go shorter, we know that the wet tyre is the choice. And the fact that other cars have come into the pits suggests it might be time, Mark.
Oh no. I think the other Red Bull's been held as well. Because obviously Lewis's AI car is there.
Let's have a look. Oh, hold on. The two Haas cars are queuing in the pits. I don't believe this. The two Haas cars are coming together as well, and they're queuing. And finally, Matt Tibos is going to be serviced here, or is that Lambo? No, it's Matt. Oh my goodness. Haas having a nightmare. Lambo with front wing damage. At the same time, Matt wanted to come in. They both came in together, and a bit like down at Red Bull, only not the game issue, the two drivers have an issue, and yep, there's Bugatti leaving as well. So both Red Bulls plagued with a glitch from the game, and I have to say, they might be shouting down the ears of Codemasters come the end of this one, Mark, because, I mean, that is not good at all, is it?
Yeah, I think we're going to hear some really harsh words from Christian Horner about the race organisers after that, because goodness me, it's been, well, their pit crews have gone missing, or they've gone on strike. They're not getting paid enough down in the factory or something, but it's a ridiculous situation down at Red Bull.
Yeah, it's a real shame. Lewis was looking good for a victory this afternoon, bringing himself back into the championship perhaps. Instead, he's going to drop a further 25 points, perhaps, to VSR Blizzard, who is now in control of this race and looks likely to bounce back from that did not finish last time out. Having not won in the last two races, 6th in Monaco, I did not finish in Canada. Before that, 3 successive wins, and Blizzard at the moment really does look like the man that's going to be the favourite for the championship, because he seems to be the most consistent of the guys out there. Cliffy did not finish. Lewis, who we know is capable of being in this championship hunt, being plagued by bad luck on this occasion, and well, not going well for him. Let's keep an eye on CC Brain though, the closest battle on track. He's behind VSR Francis in the battle for 11th and 12th, and Francis is on the wets. The brain is on the inters, so this will give us a really good indication of which tyre is better. And at the moment, the brain is quite close to the back of him, and I would say we must be quite close to the crossover point, Mark.
It doesn't actually look that wet though. I mean,
you're right, yeah.
I mean, you look at the spray on both. It's just, I don't know. It's very marginal, I think. But Leon's not exactly eating into the time of Kalec in front. So yes, I think that battle between Brain and Francis will give us a good indication. It seems to be fairly evenly matched at the moment. I don't think it's one or the other.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look then. As the Brain on the inters is seemingly showing that it's the right tyre to be on, and he is on older inters than Francis is wet, so that even more suggests that it might be time to go back onto the intermediate tyre. As on the inside goes the Brain, and we'll wait for the camera to come.
Brady! Oh. Brady just had an epic save out of the fast right-hander and somehow got it under control, but the wets don't look quite up to temperature on his car at least, but that was pretty impressive what he just did there. It would have been a horrendous accident if he hadn't saved that.
Oh, look how close that is. Side by side they go, and they were touching wheels in these damp conditions, and they go side by side into turn 11, and the Brain on the inters makes it stick and moves up past Francis into P11. So through he goes, the closest battle on track at the moment. There is a battle between Lambo and CJ worth watching. I'll go to that in a moment, but first I want to go back to the gap to the leader. Is Leon gaining on the leader? Not at all. 35.9 now, so 36 seconds. So that was a wrong decision to go onto a set of wet tyres, it would seem, by those guys. So losing a little bit of time. Will it come to them? We'll need to wait and see. But let's go and see if we can pick up Frisky CJ, who looks to be in a little bit of a scrap here with Lambo, albeit for 14th and 15th. It is worth keeping an eye on this, and into the pits comes Lambo. So actually, Frisky CJ versus Plexits is what the battle is to watch. 4/10ths between them as they run down towards turn 1 on lap 11 out of 27. Quite a bit of field spread here actually between the drivers, and quite a few drivers on different strategies as well. Some going for the wets, some going for the inters, but those top 7 cars that have stuck with the tyres that they started on seemingly coping well, aren't they?
Yes, well, one person who isn't coping well is KB Brady. He nearly had that off with the fast right-hander, and now he's spun it just out of the slow section at the end of sector 1, and he's hit the wall, damaged his wing. He's lost the place going in, and Brain's going to easily pass him as well. So, at least in his case, going onto the wets has been a horrendous decision for him.
Well, not working out for KB, and another championship man. It's not having a good day. Cliffy not having a good day. KB not. Zoom outside the points as well. Lewis, we know. And now he's retired. And now he's out. So, KB Brady out of this race as we continue to watch Plexits and CJ debate P14 and 15 as they go past the stricken McLaren driver. As Josh is now come into the pits. Now, what tyre is he going to go for? We'll keep an eye on that one as we watch Plexits attack CJ, whose rear end's going round. Oh, contact there, and round goes CJ into a big spin, and wow, you could see that coming a mile away. Plexits tried to avoid it, he couldn't, and I think Plexits might have got a little bit of damage from that as well, has he? Or has he got away with it? I think he has.
Yeah, I think it was actually CJ who got the damage, hitting the side of Williams. So yeah, cat-like reactions from Plexits to avoid the worst of it.
Oh, that was close. Very close. And you could just see that car going round and round and round, and Plexits just didn't know where to go. Luckily for him, he avoided it. So let's have a look now at Leon, who's still out there on the wet tyres. Josh just came into the pits and is pulling away from him. So that gives you an idea of how much better the intermediate tyre is, and the fact that Josh came into the pits and fitted a new set of those tyres. So there you go. Interestingly, the 2 Red Bulls are actually back out on the racetrack, ghosting going out there. So just goes to show that was a serious glitch. It's a real shame for those two. So the 2 Red Bulls, no points today, as CJ has now left the session, joining Brady, the 2 Red Bulls, and Cliffy on the sideline. We're down to 15 runners after 12 laps of 27, as Blizzard has made a call for the pits. Now, what tyre is going to go on the championship leader? Let's see, Mark.
Well, surely he's not going to risk the wet tyres. It just doesn't look like it's wet conditions at all. It still looks Inters to me. Inters have a pretty large window. It has to be like horrendously bad conditions to go on the wets, really, like proper heavy rain. But rain like this, it's just not going to be removing enough water for the heavy wets to work.
Absolutely. So we'll see with the intermediate continues to be the tyre of choice, and it certainly seems that way for VSR Blizzard as the race leader rejoins back out in P5. He was the race leader, I should say, as Leon, I think, has come into the pits from the wet tyre and has admitted defeat on them, and he is now going to bail out and go for a set of inters as well. Cool. Lap 13 out of 27. It's Nowek now leading, yet to stop, much like Lickleblocks in second, Poe in third, It's Me in fourth. We wait on Blizzard to see, we wait to see if they come out ahead of Blizzard. I don't think they will, or if they try and go extremely long in this race on the intermediate tyre, if they think the rain's going to worsen enough for wets, or if they think it's going to dry up. But the information we have is that it will remain wet from start to finish, so if anything it would be if it was going to move to full wet conditions, wouldn't it, Mark? So will the likes of Nowek, Lickle and Poe and maybe It's Me try something different, or do you think they should just come into the pits and just take what they have today?
Yes, well, if it stays like this, then they've got to be stretching it out long enough so they can just pit and do a simple one stop. So I don't think anyone's going to be able to take the tyres all the way to the end without pitting. But in terms of the Constructors' Championship, both Mercedes out of the race, only one Sauber in the points, who hasn't stopped yet. So McLaren already have a 70-point lead at the top, and they're going to be extending that to an even larger margin.
Yeah, and that's even with one of them out of the Grand Prix, so it's just showing their dominance here as Nowek. In fact, all four of them have come into the pits on this lap. Nowek, Poe, Lickle and It's Me, so that just gives you an idea of the state of those tyres, and the fact that they come in dead on the halfway point of this race. So that tells you the intermediates to the finish should be the plan, with Blizzard now 6.8 seconds ahead of Nowek in second and seemingly in control at the front of this race. Let's see if we can find another battle out there. Goran ends around 8/10 off the back of It's Me, although Goran has been on those tyres for 11 laps, but you never know, we could see a battle. He's on warm tyres, It's Me is not. Fresh ones just out of the box, so let's see if Goran can line up a move here, the Finnish driver, as they go through that long turn 6, waiting to pick up the throttle, and then on through the kink of 7 and down that long back straight. I think any hopes for a move of Goran have been extinguished, and it should now be the case that It's Me should pull away. So let's keep an eye then on Lickleblocks versus Poe, and Poe, has to be said, he's having a fantastic afternoon in P4, isn't he?
Yeah, he's stayed out of trouble. He's made some good moves, like that double pass he did early on when those two guys went deep into the final corner. Yeah, fourth. Really good result for Poe as it stands. Yep,
so let's see what TTG Poe can do. He's TTG compatriot Lambo not having a good afternoon by his standards. It's going to be a second non-finish in succession for him if it stays like this. Matt Tibbles, who is last, has just come into the pits as well. I presume another set of inters going on for him as Blizzard pumps in a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix to show his superiority at the front of this race. Now the big question is, can Lickle do anything about Poe in the battle for 4th and 5th? It looks like the hottest battle on track at the moment. Leon against the Brain is another one we should watch, because there's quite a difference in tyres there, but I think the Brain might not be far away from a pit stop, so we'll keep an eye on this. The Ferrari of Lickleblocks, who's had a bit of a struggle this season himself, hasn't he? A man that we know has got great pace. A similar season really to Lewis, isn't it? What might have been. Got great pace at times, fighting near the front, but just can't bring home the bacon. A few collisions. I remember back in Spain he was looking good for a strong result, ended up in an incident, and several other incidents during this race so far, this season so far. So Lickle will just be hoping for a strong finish this afternoon, won't he?
Yes, well, he just needs to score some points, really. He did get his first points recently. But I do feel with some of the positions he's been in, I think Bahrain was one that sticks out a lot. He was about to get a podium there, then he lost it in the closing laps of the race. So, he just needs to, slowly pick up the results. Even if it's, a P7, a P6, and then build from there. Just get a consistent run of form going.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We'll see if Lickle can do that, but at the moment unable to really gain on Poe, who's having that great race that we mentioned. But let's go back to P12, where Zoom is looking like making a move. 3 laps difference between him and Brain. The Brain just coming out of the pits, of course, and now outside the points. Can Zoom in that Sauber make any move or any inroads on the back of the Brain? but much like we've just seen, those fresh tyres for the Brain should come up to temperature, and it would be difficult for Zoom to make that move. But given that Zoom is second in the championship at the moment, well, it might not be after this Grand Prix, but you have to say he should be able to have a pace advantage on the Brain given his championship form. So let's keep an eye on that one, battling over P11 and 12. And I must remind you guys again, you can vote for your driver of the day. No Sergei Sirotkin, no, or Sergei Sirotkin, however you prefer to call him. There's a quick idea of the position changes in this Grand Prix. Poe's up 9 places, he deserves a strong mention. Blizzard up 2, up 11 for Kalik as well, so some big movers in there. At the moment though, what would you say, Mark? I mean, I would probably go with Poe at the moment.
Yeah, I would definitely go with Poe at the moment. You know, Kalik, although he's in 7th, has had a few scrappy moments, but Poe, you know, very impressive showing. It will be by far his best result of the season. 6th place was his best result earlier on in the season, which I believe was at Baku. Then he had a couple of DNFs, then 9th at Canada last week. So yeah, this will be a real upturn in form for Poe if he can finish P4.
Yep, and who knows, he's only 3.1 seconds away from the podium. You never know, if something was to happen up in front, it could be a famous day for the Renault driver if he could collect that podium position. So let's see what Poe can do as we go all outboard with Zoom and that helicopter shot. I'm a real fan of these helicopter cameras, Mark. I think they really do the game justice. They look superb, they look spectacular, and I'm a big fan of those. I think we should maybe have more of those cameras in the game as opposed to some of those useless onboard cameras to the side where you've got the halo in front of you and you can't see very much. I think they should replace them with these helicopter shots and give us more of them, because they're spectacular, aren't they?
Yes, well, I mean, I've actually adjusted my T-cam so you can actually see the wings and stuff, but yeah, it's not as good as it was on the 17 where you could see everything, I admit.
Yeah, absolutely. As Zoom attacks now and still doesn't look likely about making a move. The Brain is actually catching Francis as well. Lickle 1.5 now to Poe. But the good thing about those helicopter cameras is you just can't get them wrong. I mean, it's quite simple. Like, you're not going to miss the action. There's so much field of view with the helicopter camera, which is so good about them, and I think we should see more of them in the F1 games because they've showcased the action well, they showcased the game really well. I just think it's fantastic cameras. We've had a few votes for driver of the day. Predictably, the banter man Paul McGuinness himself has suggested that we go with Sergei Sirotkin. No, Paul, no, we're not having Sergei Sirotkin. I'm not having it. Tom has gone for Alonso, of course you would say that, but no genuine shouts for driver of the day thus far. But this battle for P10 looks like it could be a tasty one towards the end of this Grand Prix, Mark, couldn't it? Francis versus the Brain versus Jum for P10.
Yeah, I think it could be over long before that. I've been watching Francis' last few laps. He's been really struggling for front grip. He's gone deep into corners lap after lap over the past 3 laps, and that's why this gap, which was around 3.5 seconds, has rapidly declined for CC Brain to attack the Williams up ahead.
Yep, here comes the Brain then. Can he mastermind the manoeuvre? The man with all the brains. And he's going to attack Francis now. He'll pick up the slipstream into the rooster tail behind Cesar Francis. Not as effective without the DRS, of course. In the damp conditions, you don't get any DRS as Francis continues to hold firm in front. But in the wet conditions, Mark, it's so difficult to see, isn't it? When you're following a car in front, you can basically only see the rain light at times, and you've got to guess your braking point. It is really tricky for the drivers, but the Brain, he doesn't mind following really closely to another car, and he's going to maybe try a move through turn 10 into turn 11. Is he going to slingshot one up the inside? It looks like he is. Here comes the Brain on the attack of Francis, and he's made it stick, and no points becomes 1 point for the mastermind CC Brain, and he moves up into P10 ahead of Francis, and the Scotsman is left pointless in P11, and Zoom is gaining quickly as well, and it might get even worse for VSR Francis, and it does quickly as he picks up a 3-second time penalty. So let's have a little look further up now. Leon, he's attacking Calic Wrist as well, and they're on similar tyres in terms of durability and compound, the intermediates, which is what everyone is running in this race at the moment. As we go on board with Leon with that unusual camera that I was talking about, where you can barely see anything due to the halo, and then we go outboard and watch as Leon lines up a move on Calic Wrist. Is he going to make that move stick down into that chicane, the Mistral chicane? Doesn't look like it on this occasion. You have to say it must have been tricky for the drivers when they first turned up here and play this game, and they see all the different lines into that chicane, it must be really difficult to pick out which is the actual turning point. Obviously, when the brake marker boards are there, it's a little bit easier. But here comes Leon then, right up behind the back of Calic. Is he going to have a little look up the inside into turn 11 on this occasion? On board we go. Doesn't look like it. And Calic Riss, the man who's made the most places in this Grand Prix so far, with 11, is going to hold on for a little bit longer. But Leon looking really racy and trying to make up for that mistake by going to wet tyres earlier on. And they're touching wheels there. And he's through, is he? Oh, look at that, really rubbing wheels there, trading paint on the run down to the penultimate corner, and through goes Leon ahead of Calic. It has to be said, that was a meaty, tasty battle, that, wasn't it? It seemed to me, Mark, like Leon was maybe trying his luck a little bit too hard into turn 12 and gave Calic a little nudge, but Calic gave him his best back when he returned to the circuit, didn't he?
Yeah, he's trying to come back to him. Yeah, it's not usually an overtaking opportunity there, but Leon made it work somehow. Well, you know, Leon earlier made the mistake coming into the wets. I mean, who knows? He might have even been fighting for the podium if he'd actually not gone onto the wets and had to have made that extra pit stop earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. Leon could have been right up there fighting for a podium spot. I don't think that'll bother Poe, though. You'll not be interested in that because he's having that fine race up in P4.
Oh, Francis.
Let's have a look. What's happened?
Crashed in the pit entry, crashed into it.
Oh dear. So what happened? Did he just lose it on the way in, or he's retired?
Yeah, he's called it a day. Yeah, it's gone horribly wrong for Francis in the last few laps. And yeah, well, I think Matt Tebos is the only active P14. So we've had 6 retirements technically, with Bugatti and Lewis obviously having to disconnect because of that glitch.
Yep, absolutely. So he joins that group of retirements down to 14 runners. I know Bugatti, as you say, and Lewis with the glitch, really unfortunate. But I'm just going to quick read here of a few of the driver of the day mentions. We have had a few more, some of them a little bit more realistic, with Sergei Sirotkin not in the race. But we've had Paul from Corey, he believes he's driving the day, so we're agreeing there on that one. We've had Odems in the chat there saying he was going to give it to Blizzard, and it's hard to argue with that as well. Blizzard starting P3 and then moving up into a leading position. You could argue that Lewis maybe would be still in front of him at the moment, but Blizzard, he's still done a great job and has opened up a commanding 9-second lead at the front, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Blizzard probably can't believe his luck. I mean, you look at the standings, June's only getting 1 point, Cliffy's retired, KB Killer's retired, Lambo's out of the points, Francis is out of the points. The only other person, well, Lewis obviously retired as well because of that glitch. Novak in second only has 33 points. So even though June's only getting 1 point out of this, he's actually still going to maintain second. It's going to be a big difference in points now. I think well over 30 points now if it all finishes like this for a lead for Blizzard at the top of the standings.
Yeah, absolutely incredible, really. What a day it's going to be for VSR Blizzard. He's really going to stamp his authority on the championship lead here with what would be his 4th win of the season. And to have won 4 of the first 8 races and only be about 30 points ahead is actually remarkable, isn't it, really? He's actually only going to be 25 points ahead of June, because I believe the gap is currently 6 points between them. If he gains... No, sorry, I'm talking rubbish. I'm talking absolutely rubbish. So it's going to be 30 points exactly spot on 30 points. He's going to take 24 points out of June, it's 6 at the moment, and he'll have a 30-point lead. But even still, 30-point lead when you've won half the races isn't that much, is it?
No, well, you know, he DNF'd last week in Canada, so it can quickly, evaporate if you have one poor race. I think, over the course of a 21 race season, it is consistency ultimately. Even when you have a poor day, if you can still get a good result, that's going to be the key thing. I mean, that's pretty much reflective of what happened in the real Formula 1 season. Lewis Hamilton wasn't always the best each weekend, but even if he didn't win the race, he'd usually still finish on the podium. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely right. It's hard to remember over the course of the entire season one mistake at all from Lewis Hamilton. You could probably count the number of mistakes Sebastian Vettel made in more than one hand, perhaps two hands. You'd struggle to count them, and that probably explains why the championship was done and dusted as soon as it was back in Mexico. But yeah, Blizzard, apart from that DNF in Canada, the only blot in his copybook, his rivals have been faltering all around him, as they have shown here today.
and he's now going to have a 30-point advantage. But interestingly, Mark, oh, I was just about to say Lico on the attack of Poe, and as he was getting close to him, I was about to mention it, he loses the rear end and nearly goes sliding off into the barrier and has a mother and father of a shunt. But thankfully, with the huge runoffs that we have here, he picks himself back together and maintains P5, but now dropping back to 1.5 seconds from the back of Poe when he was gaining down to half a second. So has Poe been giving a little bit of a lifeline there?
I think so. It's a nice gap. It's sort of, he's trading faster lap times with Josh up ahead. So he's trying to catch up. You know, podium is still. I mean, I might check penalties in a bit, and if you want me to call them out for the top 5, let me know. But yeah, it's Nickel Blocks. Every time he seems to get close to the Renault, he seems to make a mistake which prevents him from putting on a real challenge for 4th place.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. We'll see if he can do it. But yeah, you might as well read off those penalties. There's not too much in the way of on-track battling at the current stage of this Grand Prix, so read them out for us, and we'll try and paint a picture of the closing laps for you guys that are watching, that are stuck with us throughout this race. I think actually the rains began to ease off entirely now, and it could be a real challenge for the drivers to make it to the end of the race on these inters, because I would imagine after 13 or 14 laps in the first time they would have been past the best. They're going to be even more past the best if they're driving on a surface that's not ideal for the inters, because it is stopping raining here at Paul Ricard, so that could be interesting, couldn't it?
Yes, you know, some of the engineers putting their hands out into the sky, and yes, it has stopped raining, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle for these worn inters, especially for Josh, because he's on 10 laps on that particular compound. But whether it will dry off enough to even put on the hardest dry compound remains to be seen. But Lico is really starting to struggle for rear grip. Every time he's coming out some of these corners recently, he's almost fighting with the car to keep it on the track, and he's lost half a second in this one sector alone. Yeah, absolutely. Lico struggling out there. We spoke a lot about this game and tyre temperatures and how crucial it is. 1 or 2 degrees can really affect your performance, and maybe that big moment that Lico had on a couple of laps ago maybe sent his tyre temperatures rocketing and made things a little bit difficult. But you make a good point about VSR Josh actually having done a few extra laps, because Poe's now under 3 seconds, down to 2.7 now on Josh, and that's only going to get be brought down closer and closer that gap, because of the drying track, and the more it dries, the more difficult it is for drivers that are on more worn tyres. So could be one to watch, that one between those two. Blizzard himself's done 10 laps at the front, although there's only 1 lap difference between him and Nowak in second, so we'll see how those guys all cope. But yeah, sorry Mark, have you got a rundown there for the penalty situation between the top 5? Yes, Blizzard, Novak and Josh have no penalties. Poe and Lico Blocks have 1 3-second penalty respectively. So it's pretty much as we were on the racetrack then, not really any reshuffles in that regard, which is what we like really. We don't like to see positions settled after the flag, do we? So good to see that everyone that is in a battle or are relatively close on track, not really too much of a separation between them. But I think we should actually pick up the battle for P10, because one of the men in the championship hunt, Jum, is clinging on to that World Championship point at the moment, because CC Brain is right behind him and is on 3 lap pressure tyres as well, isn't he? Yes, well, Jum has had an absolute nightmare of a race. He's had 2 stop-goes in this race, and he's got 9 seconds of penalties. I'm not sure how that compares to Brain, but I think Brain's about to get a run on him. Yep, looks like it. Here comes the Brain, masterminding another move here on another driver, and he's going to ease alongside Jum, and before the braking zone, probably complete that move, and yes he does, up the inside. And Jum, as you say, with all those penalties anyway, I would highly doubt the Brain has 2 stop goes and 3 9-second time penalties, 3 second time penalties to his name anyway. So through goes the Brain, up at the 10th, and Jum looking unlikely to pick up any points at all. So let's keep an eye now. Oh, in fact, we'll go back to Jum. Is he close enough to have a callback? No, he's not. So let's go to the battle for 8th and 9th. Callett versus Goranen, 6 tenths between them. Perhaps for change of position there as well as the race draws towards the close. It's lap 24 out of 27. Remember, folks, feel free to let us know who your nominations for driver of the day are. I'm still at the moment sticking with TTG Poe as my driver of the day, and I think you agree, Mark. Yes, I think so. You know, outside the top 10, he's got all the way up there, as Gran continues to close the gap onto his fellow Ferrari-powered car.
Yep, as going in now. He's really close to Calic. Is this the moment he makes that move? Tucks right up behind the back of Calic Rest. On board with the Ferrari we go. And the two Finns fighting one another. Calic and Gonanen, they're used to slippery conditions. They're usually racing on ice back home. But now in the rain here in France. Oh, Gonanen a little bit too greedy on the curb there. 3-second time penalty. What's the situation on penalties between these two? I'm interested to know. Mark, if you can update me there, but that's a 3-second time penalty for Gonanen, isn't it?
Calic actually has no penalties, which is surprising because I've seen him off the road a few times, and yeah, well, there's no point even looking at Gonanen, he's got so many.
Okay, well there you go then. So, not really a fight that's going to change the positions, but close racing between the pair, as Calic in P8 just about holding on track to Gonanen, but given the number of penalties, we believe it will be a formality that will finish ahead of him. Lap 25 now, 27.3 to go for VSR Blizzard out front. He's opened up an 11-second lead and Gonanen! Oh, a huge moment there. That looked like it was going to go spearing off into the barrier, and that big moment will relieve any pressure that was being mounting there. And Calic will be 3 and gone in P8. So let's shuffle a little bit further up to that battle for 4th and 5th again between Poe and Lickle. Any sign of it changing there? Not at the moment. And Poe holding on well, but an 11.0 second lead for Blizzard from Norwich, and Josh doing a good job in P3 as well.
Yeah, no, there's been some impressive showings from some of those who aren't typically at the top. I mean, Calic, this is actually, if he finishes, it's going to only be the second time he's finished points, so he'll be absolutely delighted with that.
Yeah, Calic will be delighted if he can get that home in P8. So another mention there for driver of the day from ILR Shadow. Blizzard driver of the day, no assists, pad user, and 10 seconds ahead. That's insane. So I mean, that's impressive as well. A lot of credit there to Blizzard. So Blizzard getting a few mentions, Poe getting a few mentions as well. Calic getting a second points, another point score this season. So a big mention for him. So Josh as well, first points in ILR1, it will be a podium as well. So a good effort from him in P3. Nowick, solid again in P2, another one that's done well. But I think, as we come on to lap 26, the penultimate lap of this race, I think it's going to be a stalemate to the flag. I don't see any moves being made. If we are going to see any, I would suspect it would be Lickle blocks on Poe as he tries to dip that gap under 1 second. Yeah,
I think so. Well, it just shows you how sort of mixed up this race has been, because 7 out of the current top 10 in the championship are looking likely not to score any points today, except crucially for the championship leader and Novak.
Exactly, incredible. It just shows you how unpredictable this season has been. 7 out of 10 drivers at the top of the championship not in the top 10 scoring points. It's incredible, but the fact is VSR Blizzard is, and he's a championship leader, and he's going to extend his lead to around 30 points, to 31 now. I think that Doom is outside of the points. So another thing that's gone slowly under the radar, we thought Josh would start to struggle a little bit. He's now only 1.5 seconds ahead of Poe. Littleblock's only 8/10 behind Poe as well. Surely too little too late. In fact, no, it's not too late, because Josh is way off the road and Poe takes the podium. It's a puncture for Josh. Oh, unbelievable.
Rear left.
Rear left for Josh results in a puncture, but we have to go to Lickle versus Poe. Could that produce a podium battle in the closing laps? Poe now up into P3, but if Josh is getting a puncture after 14 laps and Blizzard's about to start his 14th lap, does that mean that he on this final lap is at risk of a puncture as well? Perhaps he is, Mark.
Oh, maybe, although obviously Blizzard's not had to push that hard, so I think he'll be alright, in theory. But yeah, it's high tyre wear here, so it's always borderline, even if you do one stop here. And Doom is out of the race as well, so Josh might be able to get back to pits and get a point still, because he's got quite a large gap to CC Brain, so he may still get a point, because he hasn't got any penalties.
Yeah, he should. He should get a point, Josh, no doubt about it. He might even be ahead of Calic here when he returns to the pits. It's 20 seconds. Oh, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see.
Here comes Gonanen.
Gonanen? What about Gonanen? Is he attacking? Yeah, he is attacking Calic.
Calic, yeah.
Yeah, he is. So in the final lap, there might be another battle to be had. Although Gonanen has got so many penalties, I actually don't want to watch this. I want to keep an eye on Blizzard on this final lap. Is he in any danger of a puncture as he goes through the area where Josh got his puncture? It doesn't look like it. It looks like he's managed to stroke the car home on those intermediate tyres, which look bald. They look like a set of slicks here as he comes towards the end of the race. And the man who went into this Grand Prix with a 6-point lead in the championship, having failed to finish last time out in Canada, is going to recover and bounce back with a victory. It's his 4th win in 8 races this season. He has a 30-point lead now in the championship, a 31-point lead I should say. He wins here in France. A fantastic win for him. Nowick's going to be second, but is Paul going to hold off Licklebox for a famous podium? It looks like he is. My driver of the day and Mark's driver of the day, TTG Paul, yeah, that's such a mouthful, TTG Paul crosses the line to come home in 3rd place with Licklebox in 4th. It's going to be It's Me 5th, Leon 6th, Calic on the road 7th, or will it be Gone N on the road 7th? We know Gone N's got so many penalties, we'll keep an eye on it, but at the moment Calic is staying ahead. Is Gone N going to launch one up the inside into the penultimate turn?
He's definitely going to launch it in the last corner. You can just tell from the body language of the car.
Oh,
maybe not.
Too far back. It's Me comes home 5th, Leon 6th, Calic 7th it would seem. Josh will get 8th I think because Gone N's got too many penalties. Cross the line, Calic 7th, Josh 8th, Gone N drops back to 9th, and with the 22-second cushion to Brain, he should stay 9th, and the Brain will come home in 10th. There we go, there's the Brain. Final few corners for him, and he will come home in P10. But an interesting race. Fell flat at times towards the middle and end of the Grand Prix after an early excitement as the field spread gained really increased quite a bit. But it was still an exciting race at times, a lot of action out there, a lot of good driving at times, exciting to watch with the changing conditions. The first French wet race I can remember watching, and it was a pleasure to watch and a good win for Blizzard, wasn't it, Mark?
It was. His car got wiped out on the in lap, and now he's just stopped out on track admiring the trees at the moment. But yeah, no, it's been he got somewhat, I think Lewis, if it wasn't for that glitch, I think he would have had the speed to win this race. So, but Blizzard, you know, he got that bit of luck, and you know, he was never under threat from behind. So you know, Lewis will be absolutely furious about the Red Bull pit crew there.
Yep, a sore one for Lewis, a sore one for Beati. Both Red Bulls out of the Grand Prix through no fault of their own. A pit lane glitch here in France has cost them big time. So a sore one for those two indeed. So yep, final result, VSR Blizzard winning with his championship rivals all at sea, opening up a 31-point lead over Zoom in second. Nowick on the road today in the Grand Prix finished second. TTG Po with a fantastic podium finish, a real highlight for him in ILR. I think he said his best result was 6th, did you say, Mark, earlier in the season?
Yes, it was. And Calic got 7th in the end, so he nearly matched that. But yeah, no, a really good effort. Calic earlier on, he was involved in lots of midfield scraps, but in the end, got a really outstanding result. Yep,
Licklebox 4th, it's me 5th, Leon 6th, Calic 7th. Josh recovered to 8th with that puncture. A bit of a shame for him, missing out on that podium. And 9th was Gone N, I think, and the CC Brain got the final point in 10th, I think that's what it was. But hopefully we can get the guys in for interview. Let's see if we can get them in. You're the host of the party, aren't you, on this occasion? But there is the podium celebrations for Blizzard. Probably the best day he's had so far this season, it has to be said, with all his rivals falling around him. A great day for Poe to get onto the podium with P3. And Nowick as well, a solid performance from the German driver, bringing it home in P2. But that rounds off the French Grand Prix. We head to Austria for round 9 of the championship, and Mark, that should be a cracking race. We always have fun in Austria, don't we?
Austria is one of those really short circuits I like, which always keeps the field close. So yeah, we should get some fantastic racing there in a week's time. Really looking forward to it.
Yep, should be a cracker. Have you invited the guys for interviews? Any of them are going to join us? Or
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Hold on.
See if we can get those guys in. So bear with us, folks. We'll see how it goes. But there you go. There's the final results on the board. Blizzard winning with Nowick 2nd, Poe 3rd. Licklebox 4th. It's Me was 5th. CSR Leon P6. Gallic Wrist, P7 for Alfa Romeo Sauber, P8 for VSR Josh with that late puncture, a real heartbreaker for him. It was 9 for Gran, 10 for the Brain. No points for the second successive race for Lambo, having scored in all of the first 6 races. Real disappointment for him. His championship hopes slowly starting to fade, although he was never really thinking about the championship in the first place. Matt was 12th, June 13th, a sore one in his championship challenge. Plexits was 14th, non-finish for Lewis, Francis, Bugatti, Frisky CJ, Brady and Cliffy. But most importantly, both Red Bull drivers failed to finish because of a glitch in the pit lane, and especially when Lewis was out in the lead. So a real kick in the teeth for Lewis, and nothing seems to be going right for him whatsoever at the moment, does it, Mark?
No, it's been I mean, apart from the second of Canada last week, it's just been one bad luck after another. But you know, today in particular just must be so gut-wrenching for the reigning champion. But still a lot of races to go. I mean, you know, you can't say the championship's beyond him yet, but maybe he'll get some luck later on. So yes, it is here, I believe.
Yeah, you can't say the championship's beyond him, but the longer and longer it goes on with these results, with Blizzard taking so many points, it will start to get tough for him. And today was arguably, I'm not saying definitely, but arguably the real chance for Lewis to turn his fortunes round, and he's been undone. And now, instead of 68 points behind the championship, he's 93 points behind, and that really is a mountain to climb. There's no doubt about it. So 68, 93, that is huge to overturn. And I think his championship hopes, they aren't gone yet, but any more results where he's losing points like that, and I think it might be curtains for his season. We'll keep an eye out for that. But the drivers slowly starting to join us in here for the podium interviews. We have got VSR Blizzard, the race winner, with us. A 4th win of the season, Blizzard. Fantastic result for yourself. You now open up a 31 point lead at the top of the championship, and with all of your main rivals in the championship failing to score. I mean, this has got to be the best day of your season so far, is it not?
Yeah, I've always loved France. I didn't quite think it was going to bring such luck, I guess.
So what about the race today? Do you think that you struggled today to beat Lewis? Do you think he had the pace on you, or do you think in the second half of the race you would have maybe been able to take it to him had he not had his issues in the pits? Because we believe Lewis and Bugatti, both Red Bulls, were stuck in the pits earlier on. How did you feel Lewis was looking in terms of pace today? Do you think it was going to be a tough battle?
Well, I think my strategy, I think I still would have won that, even if Louis didn't have that, because he pitted onto the wets, didn't he?
Oh, of course.
And
of course, actually.
Yeah, so he would have had to done an extra stop than me. That's why I think I still would have won that.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point, well made.
Anyway.
Very good point, well made. So, a 31 point lead now in the championship. How do you feel about that? Do you feel going into Austria now, you're in a really strong position in this championship? I mean, with that DNF last week, the championship was closed up, but with that win today, you must feel that you've got that cushion back again with everyone else struggling. And going into Austria, how do you feel like ahead of the season now with 8 rounds down?
Well, I'm not gonna be too confident now, because obviously it's never over until it's over. So I'm just gonna keep pushing as normal, and just hope it's over probably before the last race. So we can just relax for it.
So Austria, what about Austria? Tell me, is it a track you go well at? Is it one you enjoy? Do you feel another win could be on the cards there, or is it one you don't particularly enjoy?
But it's kind of gone to the point of the season where I actually enjoy all of these tracks until Singapore. So yeah, I think I can be trying to fight for the wins around here.
Well, there you go. That's ominous for your championship rivals. If they're just getting to the tracks that you really start to enjoy, a real opportunity over what is a predominantly European leg of the season, with the exception of Canada from now until Singapore, a real chance to extend your 31 point lead. I've got to ask Mark. Mark, have you got any questions for our race winner?
Yes. In terms of the tracks coming up, in terms of the remaining European races, which one is the one you're looking forward to the most?
It's Austria, Britain, Germany. I love Germany. It's probably my favourite track on this game.
Okay, well there you go. Germany being Blizzard's favourite track. Have we lost Poe? Is he coming back? I think we've lost Poe, haven't we?
Back.
Oh, that's a real shame because Poe, of course, picking up his first podium in ILR with that strong P3 with that late puncture occurring towards the end of the Grand Prix for Josh. So Poe getting that podium, Blizzard winning, Nowick in second. Well, that rounds it all off for another race here at the French Grand Prix in Paul Ricard. We are going to Austria next week. Once again, join us at the same time, 5:30 next Sunday for the Austrian Grand Prix. Round 9 of the championship. That's all from me, that's all from Mark, and that's all from our race winner, VSR Blizzard. A very well done to him. He has a 31-point lead now in the championship. Can anyone stop him? We'll find out as we head to Spielberg. Good night. How did I end a broadcast? How did I do it? There we go.